reason why autosuggestion is so important is because you can rearrange a new order. You can see the existing results that we have, and we can move ourselves in a completely different direction. We have the ability to originate powerful ideas. And if you continually feed yourself powerful ideas and continually moving towards a new direction, you will move out of the current state. Study the results back and forth. That's feedback. The results you're receiving is feedback from the old pattern plan, the old pattern thoughts. In like manner, the power of the universal mind takes particular forms through the particular mind of the individual. It does not interfere with the lines of his individuality, but works along them, thus making him not less, but more of himself. It is thus not a compelling power, but an expanding and illuminating one, so that the more the individual recognizes the reciprocal action between it and himself, the more full of life he must become. Right here, I'm going to read this again. In like manner, the power of the universal mind takes particular forms through the particular mind of the individual. It does not interfere with the lines of his individuality, but works along them. As I think, I create. Listen and listen to understand. Read, but read to understand. Read to decipher. Taking particular forms through the particular mind of the individual. It does not interfere with the lines of his individuality, but works along them, thus making him not less, but more of himself. This universal power that works through me, that works through every individual, and it's individualized. Demonstrations of consciousness. It does not interfere. You keep waking up same time, same mode, same destination, same creation. It is thus not a compelling power, but an expanding and illuminating one. So that the more the individual recognizes the reciprocal action between it and himself, the more full of life he must become. The only way this happens is spirit becomes conscious. Our spiritual DNA is perfect. Our essence is perfect. It can rearrange a new order at any moment. Be aware that there's a higher order. You must not look upon the circumstances as they are firm, but recognize his individualized acknowledgement of what? That the mind is movement. And we have the ability to what? Cooperate. Nobody's forcing you to live the way you're living. You have not decided to live the way you want to live. This is where mind and matter, mind and hand must recognize each other. And until then, the hand will move ahead of the mind, producing the same results day after day. But it is a recognition of the truth that mind and hand were always one. If there's no thought to control the body, true thought, true thought, originating its own ideas, then the hand will always dominate the mind. The body will always dominate the mind, the movement. Manuel, you started to think a little bit differently. There started little by little at the beginning, I was working with you, and I started to take your consciousness to be ahead of thought, to work your mind ahead of thought, to decide, to take your mind and decide that the images that you would select to put in the forefront, so that your essence can select what it will work with, the ideas it would work with. And you started to do so. What I've been working on is teaching you how to keep consciousness, your spiritual essence, consciousness ahead of thought, and discern, to decide, to choose and select the images that you would get emotionally involved with. And then implant those. Then what? Bring them down and work towards those. Before then, on a general thumb, humanity is just letting the visions, the circumstances, the people, the radio, the TV stations, all the things, their old beliefs, their old way of thinking, be the pre-thought, the precursor to reality. Am I right? What I was doing from the beginning when we got together was, one, keep a positive mental attitude. PMA, positive mental attitude. And then get you to focus on what you really, really want. There was a difference. There's a difference between looking at circumstances as they are and selecting and choosing to focus on what you want. Go ahead.
Yeah, back then, before I started this, I wasn't aware of it. I didn't know how it worked. So I was always getting into the negative things. So I would, like when something bad would happen, man, I would stay in that negative thought. And that's the way I was thinking back then. But now, I kicked that negative thought. But now I know what I'm thinking is what I'm bringing.
Yep. It's so important to understand and reflect on your consciousness and who's thinking, who's controlling, who's identifying. Before then, you didn't know that there was a, you could say, split in consciousness, right?
Yeah.
You thought you were thinking. For how long has the beliefs, how long in the past were they controlling your behavior?
I was born.
To some degrees, you've probably broken some beliefs.
Oh yeah. That's what I was trying to figure out. Like, I always had that belief that I'm able to do more.
Mm-hmm.
I'm capable of doing bigger and better things. So that's what's always kept me going. But back then, I didn't know. I didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that what was pushing me.
Yep. It's so important to understand the mind and how it works, otherwise we don't break out. The better understanding we have of what the mind is, what the brain is, what the subconscious is, what the conscious mind is, the better we can relate to it, understand it, comprehend it.
Yep.
And the more aware we become of self, which self was is the originating operator of the whole thing. Would you agree?
Agree. Once you know about it, once you know how it works, man, it's a beautiful thing.
Oh yeah. You're falling in love with life all over again.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
Subconscious mind is so powerful because when you don't understand it, it's almost as if you are working against the current. Right?
Yep.
And you're working against yourself majority of the time. You're fighting something unseen, ununderstood. Right?
Right.
Now you're just getting a better understanding that we don't have to fight.
It was just me.
Yeah. But we don't. The thing is, it's hard to break out of a prison you don't even know you're in. Right?
Yep.
But we're thinking, and we're thinking, but truly, what's thinking is the programs, it's the belief systems we have, it's the conditioned mindset that we have. That's what's thinking. And then it's unbeknownst to you until you say, stop. Until you finally just step in and say, stop. That's conscious awareness of yourself. That's conscious awareness of the program that's been running. When you can intervene into your own thought process and say, stop. Does this serve me? Is this taking me where I want to go? At that moment, you become aware of self-consciousness. When you can become self-conscious of oneself, this is what you did, was it not?
Yes.
When you became self-conscious that you've been feeding yourself maybe ideas that didn't serve you, or working those ideas that didn't serve you anymore, you stopped that, didn't you?
Mm-hmm. And yet I still do it all the time because I still get those little negative thoughts trying to pop up, but I always cut them off. There's some times where I'll get into a little thought trip and I'll cut it off.
Yeah. Auto-suggestion is your ability to give, it's a suggestion from yourself to yourself. But if you don't do it, guess what? You're already auto-suggestion before that. The program was doing it. If you don't do it, the program's doing it for you.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know this. A lot of people are stuck. Year after year, month after month, living the way they're living, and they don't know why. Unbeknownst to them, they've been auto-suggesting. Therefore, our wisest plan is to follow the pattern of the parent mind and to make mental self-recognition our starting point. To make a mental self-recognition of our starting point, knowing that by the inherent law of spirit, the correlated conditions will come by a natural process of growth. This is what happened in the beginning. This is the reason why, Manuel, you were getting the results you were getting to start off with. The auto-suggestion was given to you at birth. That was the projection for the reality. You are already pre-programmed. You're already conditioned. They already gave you the ideas. They sprinkled them. Think about that. They had preset the auto-suggestions for you, unknowingly. That was the beginning. If you don't intervene, intercept those ideas, and create new auto-suggestions and rewrite that program, it'll keep rearranging itself. Let's look at the way the mind. What is the mind? Creative mind upon itself can only have been a state of consciousness. This then is clearly the creative order from states of conditions. But we invert the order and seek to create from the conditions to states. The creative mind upon itself can only have created a state of consciousness. We came into a world. We came into environment. We took those ideas. Little child is growing, he's 0 to 5, 0, 1, 2, 3. Environment just sprinkling its ideas, just giving it ideas and visions, and just soaking it up, just soaking up everything around its environment. And as soon as those ideas can come into here, he's trying to, attach words with meanings. Dad, mom, father, mother, aunt, uncle. Food, right? Banana, apple. He's trying to attach all of these images with feelings to understand, so that he can take all these little puzzle pieces and then put them together himself. The little child wants to express these ideas, and he wants to express them so bad, he's soaking everything up. Taking the words from mom, taking the words from dad, taking the expressions from mom and the expressions from dad. Yes, no, don't do that. No, don't do that. Yes, do that. And then he starts to adapt, and he's bringing all these ideas so that he can use these words consciously and intellectually, and then express them in behavior. Watching the brother and the sisters and the way they communicate, and if they're arguing, or they're fighting, or they're bickering, or they're picking on each other, he is just soaking it all up. All little puzzle pieces, bringing them together. He just put them in his box, put them in his box, puts them in the box, put them in the box, in the box, in the box, in the box. And all of a sudden, one day he says, "Mom." And I says, "Oh my God." He says my name. Well, you've been repeating it so many times. Accumulating data. All of a sudden, he's making gestures and faces. And he's making gestures and faces like his mom or his dad or the brother or the sister. This little child is just adapting to the images. And then he's taking those ideas, and as he begins to think, he's creating formula. He's creating ideas of his own, individualized experiences. He's taking all this data. And he or she begins to think, he's taking these ideas, and then he takes them up and he uses imagination with this. And then he's progressively starting to move forward and experience life. This was the beginning of autosuggestion. This is the beginning of that child's life, but in reality, this is the beginning of other people's ideas. This was the starting point. Therefore, our wisest plan is to follow the pattern of the parent mind and make mental self-recognition our starting point, knowing that by the inherent law of spirit, the correlated conditions will come by a natural process of growth. Everything to the time that we met had been working perfectly according to the way you were thinking. Yes? Wild, isn't it?
I could think, I could go back, and all the stuff that I got right now, everything that I'm doing, I thought about this long time ago. everything that I got.
Perfect equation. We have been successful from the beginning, have we not? Success. We meet with success at every hour of the day. Every moment of the day, we meet with success of the parent mind.
Mm-hmm.
Powerful.